Hi folks, Ed Vaughn here with Keller Williams and the Transition Living Real Estate team, here with another installment of Frequently Asked Questions. This month I'm going to tackle the home buying process. I'm going to tackle that at a fairly high level. I recorded a session with a lot of details in it, and it was like 12 minutes long, and I figure that's probably 11 minutes and 30 seconds longer than you really want to hear me talk. So I am going to cut that in half, hopefully at least, and just hit it at a high level, and I'll probably have more details on my YouTube channel there. If you're interested in some of the details, I'll record them in segments and put them on the YouTube channel. So anyhow, at a high level, the first thing you need to know as a home buyer in this seller's market is you need to be pre-approved for financing, assuming that you need financing and won't be paying cash. You do have to have that pre-approval from a lender and a letter that states that you can present to the seller at time of that you make the offer. And I'll be able to recommend several loan officers or mortgage brokers that you can choose from so you can shop around and get the best deal you possibly can. Um, the second thing you're going to want to know going into the process is, what is your legal name? What is the name that's on your driver's license? Because that's the name exactly as it's stated on your driver's license that you're going to want to use for all these legal documents that are going to be part of this transaction. And then after that, the state of Colorado requires that I present you with a couple documents. The first one's called a buyer advisory document, and that contains all the necessary information the state deems that every buyer should know and understand before they purchase a home. The second one is the buyer agency agreement, which is a contract between you and me, and it outlines all my duties to you as a home buyer, what my roles and responsibilities are as a real estate agent, as a realtor here in Colorado. So once we get through the paperwork there, we're ready to go. We'll start talking in detail about your wants and needs in a home. I have a questionnaire that I send to everybody that they can fill out, and that gives me a really good idea of what they're looking for, and I can turn those requirements into a home search of the MLS to find you the home that you're looking for. Once we do find that home, we're going to write offers to purchase, and if an offer is accepted, we're going to have to put in escrow something called earnest money. So this is typically 1 to 2% of the purchase price. The seller is going to ask that the buyer put that money forward and kind of show that they're serious about purchasing that home. So that money could wind up going to the seller if the buyer were to decide to get out of the contract for no good reason. So there are several reasons built into the contract that a buyer can terminate the contract and receive earnest money back. But if they're just getting out because they changed their mind and they really don't have any other good reason to get out of the contract, then the seller would be able to hold and keep that earnest money. And you can look at it as part of your down payment. It will go towards your down payment at closing when the contract goes all the way through. So when we do go under contract, there are several dates and deadlines that I will be keeping you aware of, and we just need to get certain things done by those deadlines. The first one is that earnest money delivery. Within a couple days of going under contract, I will take that check from you and hand it over to the title company, and they put that in escrow for closing. The next deadline the seller is responsible for is the seller's property disclosure. They don't have to, but they normally do provide you with a document that outlines everything they know about the home, any kind of defects that have happened over the years, things that you want to know as a buyer that could be wrong with the home. And that's, again, a couple days after going under contract. The next thing is a home inspection. So you as the buyer will have the opportunity to inspect the homes. There are many different inspections you can choose to do, but there are dates and deadlines around getting those done and objecting to anything you find during inspection. The seller is responsible to work with the title company to get you what's called title docs, and that's basically a document that shows that the title is clear or not, and free from all liens, encumbrances, etc. And so those are documents that will be presented to you for you to look over and to verify that you're going to be taking clean title. Another thing the seller is responsible to get to you is if there's an HOA involved. our HOA documents. They go over the bylaws and financials of the HOA in play. Next is the appraisal deadline. So even if you're paying cash, you're going to want to get an appraisal done to make sure that you're not paying too much for a property. And of course, all lenders require an appraisal be done before they lend on it. And then the last deadline in a contract is the loan objection deadline. Typically, that's the last date and deadline, and that's usually about a week before closing. And so you would want to have your final loan approval signed off on by the lender before this deadline in order to get earnest money back. If for some reason the financing falls through, you can get out of the contract at that point and get your earnest money back. So at that point, we're pretty much a week away from closing. Within that final week, up to even a couple hours before closing, you have a right to do a final walkthrough of the property to make sure it's in the same condition you expect it to be in. When you first saw it and you saw it for inspection, etc. That nobody's punched holes in the walls or any other crazy stuff has happened before you close the transaction with the seller. So you'll do that, like I said, up to a couple hours before closing, and then closing typically happens on a weekday. Usually takes 1 to 2 hours, and basically you sign a bunch of loan documents and real estate documents to take ownership of that property. And typically, directly after closing, you would be able to take possession of the property, although that is negotiable between you and the seller. But typically, you would be taking possession and be able to move in right after closing. So that's it at a high level, the buying process. If you need lower level details of this, like I said, I'm going to put videos up on my YouTube channel, but always feel free to give me a call, and I'd be happy to go over any questions or details you might want to know. That's it. Take care, folks. Talk to you next time. Bye.